Hello, how you going, random stranger? I hope you're settled in for episodes 7 and 8 of Hibike Euphonium. There is a lot of good stuff and comments to get through today, including a live performance of an actual marching band that one of you recommended that I'd really love to watch with you all. So let's get to it. First off, Remedy Bug, mate, thank you so much for letting me know how to pronounce my best girl's name properly. So it's Asuka and not Asuka. The su is shortened like des instead of desu. I feel for every KyoAni show that I watch, the rule is that I have to mispronounce at least one character's name wrong for a couple episodes before someone is kind enough to let me know. In KyoAni, it was Azusa's name that I kept mispronouncing. I kept calling her Asuka. So yeah, I don't think it's a coincidence that it's Asuka's name here in Hibike that I stuffed up. So again, yeah, thank you so much for that. Also, thank you to those of you who cleared up the fact that the split in the band actually involved the former first years, so the current second years, versus the former third years who have all graduated now and aren't actually in the show. So meanwhile, the current third years, so Haruka, Kaori, Asuka, and Aoizia were stuck in the middle, which explains, I think, partly why Haruka is so hesitant to put her foot down as captain, because she's likely hyper aware of the remaining scars of that conflict, and that there continues to be this split between those who wanted to take things seriously, like the first years who left, and those stuck in the old system of seniority and just breezing through band practice. And Haruka really doesn't want to be the one who sparks yet another civil war. Next is a very cool fact from my mate the Sledge, who ran in to say that the light novel author of Hibike based Rikka, so the Blue Devils School, on an actual high school band in Kyoto called Kyoto Tachibana High School. Except instead of being the Blue Devils, they are actually known as the Orange Devils and have a huge fan base and apparently quite the reputation for their dancing and their marching skills. So we're going to watch one of their performances that the Sledge recommended, and I myself have not really seen a proper marching band competition before. They are definitely not as common here in Australia as it is in Japan and like the US. So we're watching a performance from 2016 of the song Sing Sing Sing, which apparently made it into their repertoire because someone in the band saw a dance troupe from Australia perform it, a troupe called Burn the Floor, and then the rest is history. So it's just, I found it quite funny, just like the weird connections there that led to this performance. So we'll watch it now and we'll see. All right, here we go. Yo, yeah, I can see the Orange Devil bit. Oh, the sync, man, that, oh my god, that's like Zapma, legit kung fu like pose. I love this girl like on the bottom right hand corner, just doing her own thing. Yo, I love those little hops to the side. I don't know how they're doing this. Okay, I spot like 2 boys in the whole band. Oh, look at little Midori at the front. The flag. I love how the percussionists at the back are also kind of dancing in their own little areas. Shit, this is insane. Even their kicks. Oh, this is tight. mean, musically, I don't even know how they're playing such tight, like, rhythms and melodies while they're, like, waving and doing these freaking insane dance moves. I love how they showcase each of the instruments, like they step up to the front. So snappy. Using their voices as instruments as well. How are these other schools that are watching them not like just bobbing in their seats? They're just like not moving at all. How? It must be some kind of etiquette thing, like you're not meant to clap or like... Yo, Dragon Street killer miss. Oh my god. Hey! Dude, that was incredible. Oh, now they're allowed to collab like politely. Oh, is there a bit of uncle? Oh, even the way that they go and like wave themselves off the stage is completely in sync and choreographed. That was freaking insane. Wait, I just want to watch just a little bit more. I'm just still in disbelief that they can move like that with their instruments. I mean, what are these two down the front? Are those euphoniums? Or tubas? I feel bad. I really should know the difference, but I don't. I think they're youths because they're a bit smaller. Yeah. Just like... Man, those hip movements. You know, it was just kind of hard to just pay attention to the music as well because I'm just so captivated by the way that they move. This part in particular, like when they're bouncing up and down, they're kicking, they're like, you know, doing these like head choreography. I don't know, man. I could never. My string orchestra could never. Alright, we'll just stop there. Anyway, thank you, the Sledge. I feel like my life has been just completely pushed to a whole higher level now that I've witnessed that people can actually do this in real life. And like a high school band, no less. That's freaking insane. All right, let's get back to it. One more thing about that performance that we just watched. I am so grateful and happy that there are people out there in the world who can perform at such a level, and also not just the quality in their techniques and their choreography and stuff, but you could just tell by the way they were exuding such energy and confidence that they were putting their whole soul into this performance and that they really love doing it. And God knows how many hours and blood, sweat and tears went into preparing for that performance. And it's just that marriage of passion and of hard work, and then us being able to benefit from just seeing such a performance, I think is just such a wonderful thing. Anyway. All right, let's get back to what we were doing. What were we doing? Hibike. Yeah. Yes, before we get to the episode recaps, I noted that there was a lot of love in the comments for KyoAni's attention to detail with regards to the backdrops that are used in Hibike. And one of those comments was from Cookie. So the city this story is set in is in Uji, which I believe is somewhat close to Kyoto. This allows them to have actual photos complete with detail of what things actually would naturally look like at any given place. What they often like to do is take actual photos and apply filters and edit or paint over some sections only. It's a very efficient way to create high quality backgrounds, leaving more resources to what KyoAni is so well known for, namely the detailed animations for little nuances in character behavior and such. Yeah, so thank you for sending that in. I always love learning how studios like KyoAni make their settings so immersive and so lifelike. I know little about the technicalities of design and of animation, and so I'll definitely keep that in mind whenever I see certain shots and go, why would they go to such great lengths to put such tiny details in there? Like, on the one hand, surely it doesn't make a huge difference to the story, right? But on the other hand, it might do, because that extra effort makes the show that much more captivating, if only in very subtle ways that your brain really doesn't quite catch on to, like, consciously. Onto the story. So what is fast becoming one of my favorite things about Hibike is getting to see more of the extended base section family over the last 2 episodes. Between like the 7 of them, actually, they have such great chemistry. We have Hazuki, who is like the tuba baby, with her parents, Riko and Goto, doing all they can to rear her in the ways of the tuba. And then, so that's Riko, one of the sweetest girls in the band, it seems, whipping Hazuki into shape with her evil, scary eyes. But despite, you know, the tough love, she and Goto only have their tuba baby's best interests at heart and are incredibly concerned whenever Hazuki shows signs that she's still struggling with the basics. And then you have Natsuki, who is for now like the mysterious aunt with the dark past who will disappear for weeks at a time, but, you know, will rock up at family gatherings and give you cool presents whenever she does show up. We then have Asuka, who I believe someone in the comments called like the matriarch of the base family. And yeah, I'd say that's deadly accurate. You know, she may scare like the shit out of the rest of them, especially Hazuki, but she will defend this base family to the death and ensure that they get everything they need to grow as musicians. On Asuka, like, cheers to, it was Luke who confirmed in the comments that the double entendre in the subs are not mistakes, that the innuendos that Asuka makes about playing instruments is on purpose and will continue on into the show. So yeah, knowing that makes me believe in the goodness of this world. So yeah, thank you for letting me know. You also have Hazuki's siblings, Kumiko and Midori. I sort of see Hazuki as the middle child who's still trying to figure out who she is and where she fits in, and potentially feels like she's being overshadowed by her 2 other higher achieving siblings. Both Kumiko and Midori have obviously many more years of musical experience on her. Kumiko, we learn, doesn't have to try hard at all and still is decently good at playing the youth. Her ability to do well without really trying was also reflected in the fact that she scored higher than average in her midterm exams, but that's not really something that Kumiko feels is worth being particularly sad or happy about. So it's not something she's focused on at all, and yet she can still do fairly well at it. Midori, meanwhile, is just a natural born star. The only double bass player, she hails from a prestigious private school and was chosen to be the color guard in the marching band. So she's pretty much perfection, right? Which is also why Asuka uses the images of several sapphires overrunning the tuba section, making it impossible for Hazuki to get a regular spot if she doesn't get her act together right now. And then later, when we get to episode 6, we'll talk more about how heartwarming it is that the base family rallies around Hazuki to help her find joy in playing the tuba and also what Hazuki brings to the table too. But for now, I just want to say how enjoyable it has been to watch them supporting each other in their own ways. I think that it really is like the best part of being part of a band or orchestra or really any group-based team activity. It's experiencing not just the fun, but also the pain that you go through together, and also getting a taste of like the kindness of your bandmates and opportunities for you to support others and be supported in return. I think, and I'm not being hyperbolic when I say this because I've experienced it and you probably have as well, that something like band can really bring out like the best in humans. All right, episode 5. So training for SunFes takes place and we get given some super specific details about the requirements for marching in formation. Things like how each step has to be 62.5 centimeters exactly, and how wrong steps are more noticeable than playing wrong notes, which I thought was interesting. Also, these are all just things I find hard to conceptualize because I've never had to do it before with my violin. So a lot of respect there for the specificities of marching. Do you know what else takes place in this episode? Like some very gay scenes do. And what's funny was how the interaction between Kaori and Asuka was directly tied to the wordless one that takes place simultaneously between Reina and Kumiko. So as Kaori was blushing and rambling about how amazing and hot Asuka is, the shot switches focus to Reina and Kumiko like eyeing each other and then suffering from a severe case of gay panic, just trying to look anywhere else except at each other. And I don't know where all of this is headed, but I will keep making a note of these incredibly deliberate setups because they were put there for a reason by the writers and the animators. Like whether that reason is going to be given the chance to develop properly or whether it's just there to be borderline or full-on queerbait, I'm not sure yet. It's too early to tell whether I'm going to end up preferring that they didn't put all this stuff in there if it doesn't lead to anything. I also know that, you know, any complete analysis on the potential baitiness of these types of scenes would involve looking at the source material, so the light novel of Hibike 2, and comparing that to the anime. And that is probably something that I'd have to rely on you guys to enlighten me on after we finish the anime, because I probably won't have time to get to the light novel. Like I said last time, I'm aware that romance is not the focus of this show, and that is completely fine. However, it is panning out to be a show that contains romantic elements. There's just no way around that. At the very least, you know, what's being portrayed between Reina and Kumiko is not your normal platonic relationship between two girls, much less so, you know, the ingenuous reading some people will inevitably attempt to straitjacket these highly stylized scenes into, that it's just two straight girls becoming closer, because don't all girls blush when they're with their close friends and replay each other's smiles in their heads all the time? I could see a future scenario where Kumiko and Reina fall in love with the idea of love as represented in each other. You know, high school is a time where you get to explore those things, but that still doesn't make it any less gay. It just would shift the focus from the development of an actual canon relationship to our characters exploring their own sexuality and identity and fluidity, which actually I think would be a really fascinating approach to take. It's not something that I'm expecting at all from KyoAni, to be honest. But I'm just putting it out there, you know, like, wow, like queer rep in shows can actually extend beyond the really boring black and white debate that we always get, which is like, oh, will they, won't they? Is this a ship or not? You know, that's fine too. Like, we deserve all the, you know, simple rep too, but also wow, like queer rep can be incredibly nuanced, and like, please just give us, you know, the real relationships that just happen to be queer. Like, I don't know. Anyway, I'm not even going to get into all that. I'm just putting it there for consideration. Also, I mean, if you set it up against the very typical tropey high school crush scenes that they're making happening between Shuichi and Hazuki, the Reina and Kumiko like tropes and the romance signaling is on a whole other level. So yeah, I'm putting a pin on all this as something to like revisit once I'm done either with the season or the entire show. Back to band stuff. We find out Asuka is the drum major, which leads, of course, to a question that's already been posed, which is, why isn't Asuka the captain instead? Or the president? Captain, president, I think it's the same thing. She has like the leadership skills, is perfectly confident being the face of the band, and seems to be able to influence people a lot more easily than Haruka. Luckily, we have Natsuki now, who is coming more out of her shell and is providing us with all this juicy background information that we didn't have before. And she tells us that it's because Asuka didn't even want to be vice president, despite her character almost being a born-to-lead type. And there are obvious reasons why she wouldn't want that job. One, of course, is the drama you have to deal with as a leader, having to defend your choices from all sides and manage the conflicts that arise because people will just people, right? Worst case, you're left with another split in the band, which, if you're a leader, gets put on you. But also, I wonder if there are other less glaringly obvious reasons why Asuka is avoiding leadership. Maybe she's like a secret misanthropist who is cursed with a seeming extroverted personality. So she reluctantly enjoys being around people, especially around those who share her passion for music, and if she can help them grow as musicians, like Hazuki, but then hates everything else that comes with associating with other human beings. Or maybe she got burnt in the past, you know, when she was a leader in some capacity and got blamed for something that wasn't her fault. The person who is captain, Haruka, knowing that the other band members think Asuka should have been captain, I wonder if that does a number on her self-esteem. I mean, it has to have some sort of impact, even though she is clearly really good friends with Asuka and can trust her to have her back, like 100%. That, though, doesn't necessarily mitigate that nagging feeling of perhaps being second choice. And I predict that that's going to be a point of contention that we dig deeper into if or whenever we get an episode that's more focused on Haruka. The whole band looks and feels different to the one that we started with at the beginning of the show. There's this new sparkle of determination in their eyes to practice hard and to improve. And it was actually the saxophone girl who I believe previously was in the lazy camp, maybe still is, but it's her who asks if they can stay longer to practice more. And there was an interesting line during this practice scene which went something like, people are simple, they'll practice if they have the right incentives to. And what are the incentives driving the band forward now? Well, hate for Taki is one. It is not a great or a very positive incentive. Like, I would hate it if a student of mine was only practicing because they hated my guts. But I think it could trigger or lead the band to realize something deeper, that they do want more out of their high school band experience than to just coast along. The other incentive, like the healthier one, is the fact that they now know that Taki believes in them and is serious about taking them to nationals. And we didn't see how the previous teacher approached things, but clearly they were unable to provide the kind of serious leadership and motivation that Taki does. Because otherwise, I don't think the split in the band would have even gotten to that point, or so out of hand that a bunch of talented students would quit because of it. It's the teacher or the coach, you know, that sets the tone for the whole program. A few of you also commented how everything the show is saying about practice and hard work and incentives also applies to any other field that requires dedication, like sport or any other field of study. And that's what I really like about Hibike, is that despite its focus on music, the conflicts and the underlying motivations of each of the different characters in relation to an endeavor that requires sacrifice and hard work to accomplish are so universal in their application. While we get this whirlwind of re-energized ambition and drive from most of the band, you know, everyone has a role in this huge operation of performing as a marching band. Like Howdy is the accountant, and then there's people in charge of visiting alumni for some reason, and there's like PR and image people. It's like the full shebang. So while all that's going on, there is like an arc that's running in the opposite direction to that energy, and that's Aoi. And at every turn, Aoi is always having to cut short her music practice to go to cram school. So while everyone else is getting pumped up because of hate or like actual excitement over the thought of getting to nationals, Aoi still comes across as being a bit dead inside. And it is like totally understandable. You know, in episode 6, she's walking home and then she sees Kumiko practicing her youth and whispers, "Lucky you, Kumiko." And Isano Alpha, I think, broke this down perfectly. So they wrote, "Her lucky you, Kumiko, is probably just about how Kumiko has the freedom to spend a lot of time practicing while she has to juggle the band with her other school-related stuff and can't focus entirely on the band." Yeah, she is at that stage in her life where she can't afford to infringe on her other activities for the sake of her music. Like most people who pick up instruments during school, she's decided, or other people have decided for her, we don't know, that music isn't where her future lies. She's in second year, you know, so she's got to start thinking seriously about what she's going to do for college. And not everyone is talented enough to fit absolutely everything into their lives. You know, most people have to make hard choices about what things to cut. And it's kind of painful to watch because you are watching someone slowly like shut down a part of their heart. And I think the band's continued journey towards nationals will make the pressure on Aoi of having to choose between music and study that much worse. And so I think, you know, she'll be forced to have to break things off eventually, like even before they get to nationals. I hope it doesn't happen, but I think that's what's being written into the episodes. Okay, this next section is check my notes. Yeah, it's another heavily coded Kumiko and Reina scene. And I literally have, like, in the dot points that I have for these recaps, I wrote, "Do not rant in the recap." So I won't. Okay. The Kumiko and Reina scene, like, and I don't think it's a scene. I think this is the scene. Because I have this sneaking suspicion that we have already reached, like, peak Kumena or whatever their ship name is. And after that, there will be no more gay scenes between these two. And it'll be like, what? There was ever anything between these two? You were just imagining things. So let's just enjoy reliving this budget smile scene while we can, even though it did raise more questions in my mind about where this is all going. So Kumiko is traveling home on the train or on the subway, being in a slump and kicking off her heels in public like no proper high school girl should. But then she sees Reina through the window and like immediately straightens up. So first off, it matters a lot to her how Reina sees her because she really just wants to be Reina's platonic friend. And as they're walking home together, well, not quite together because Reina is, like, at first always a few steps ahead of Kumiko, who, by the way, is freaking out over what she can or can't talk about. But the can of worms gets opened anyway when, completely out of the blue, Reina brings up the topic of Taki-sensei herself. And it's awkward, like, not just in the scene, but on a meta level as well. So in the scene, it's awkward because Kumiko gets word vomit and stumbles over how to express that a lot of people think that Taki sensei is good looking. But as soon as Reina gives her murder face for saying that, it's immediately, oh, but not me. I don't think that. I just think he's good at encouraging people. So to me, that's even more awkward on a meta level because it's clear now, even though I want it to stay in denial about it, that the show is setting up Reina to have a borderline, potentially romantic obsession with Taki, an adult teacher. And that can happen. Like, I don't find it a particularly riveting storyline, but I get that teacher crushes are a thing. What I don't get is why they're setting that up in the midst of all these elaborate, intimate, lengthy interactions between Kumiko and Reina. I'm 99% sure that Reina's obsession with Taki will be totally one-sided. If the 1% happens and Taki somehow reciprocates, or they do the whole 10 years later, Reina and Taki start dating, I will, like, very reasonably and calmly throw something across the room and break it. But like, assuming the one-sided crush / obsession plays out, it's still quite jarring, and I don't think I'm liking it a whole lot because the way they're playing up the Kumiko and Reina stuff simultaneously makes it come off as if there's a weird love triangle being teased out between two high school girls and an adult teacher. Even though it's all happening in either one or both of the girls' heads. And of course, everything so far is just in subtext. Like, from a writing perspective, KyoAni could keep absolutely everything just in subtext and therefore retain deniable plausibility. Wait, is it deniable plausibility? No, it's plausible deniability. Like, thin though it may be, that there ever was any intention to convey anything beyond platonic friendship between Kumiko and Reina, or anything beyond like the deep respect of a student for their teacher between Reina and Taki. Still, I want to put it out there that even if subtext and deniability is all we ever get from Hibike, everything that has happened so far reasonably validates the case for, at the very bare minimum, a baby gay Kumiko and a potentially struggling with compulsory heterosexuality but open to being gay Reina. Scene change. Sorry guys. Where were we? Yes, speaking of subtext, you can't get any more subtexty than a perfectly lit, dramatic, romantically scored budget smile from one non-gay character to another. One, I loved learning that the fandom has collectively christened this scene as the budget smile scene. I also liked that this scene resolved a long-running tension, one that was more in Kumiko's head than anything, of Kumiko being scared to bring up anything related to the past and their failure to get to nationals in middle school. With that one smile, Reina let Kumiko know that she doesn't hold any grudges against her and that she can release that pressure that she's felt for years now at this point of having said something to really hurt Reina back then. The line, that's something you would say, also becomes this secret inside joke between the two of them, when in the next episode, Reina lets slip this scandalous line about Kaori being good at playing trumpet for a senior, and Kumiko throws that same line right back at her as payback. My favorite thing about the budget smile, though, was the aftermath and Kumiko's reflections on what the hell just happened. I quote, "Her smile was as mysterious as the mystery steps, but for some reason, it made me a little happy." This is Kumiko speaking, the person who rarely feels any need to be particularly happy or sad over anything. Her saying that there's finally someone or something that makes her feel the stirrings of actual strong emotion that is a huge, significant development. And the fact that this turn was brought on by a smile from Reina means we can also chalk up another one for Team Gay. Note though, like on a very serious note, like we're getting the story from Kumiko's perspective. And so the lighting, the slow motion, and I would say even like the swelling romantic music, just the overall stunning beauty of the smile, that is all Kumiko. Like that is all in her head. Moving on to SunFes, finally, the anticipation was real. Prior to the performances, though, there is an interesting conversation that takes place between Kumiko and a former classmate who now is a Blue Devil over at Rikka. The conversation revolves around why Kumiko chose Kitauji. Chose being the key word here. I don't think her friend meant to come across as condescending, but it's the impression that she gives when she continues to push Kumiko to explain why anyone would choose to go to Kitauji. Like, why did Reina choose to go to Kitauji when she could have gone to Rikka? And what's not explicitly said but implied is that Kitauji's music program and band suck. So there has to be another secret reason at play. And here, Kumiko has her second big realization of the episode. The first being that Reina makes her happy, and the second being that she might genuinely enjoy playing with her new band. Her rejection of her friend's invite to go and meet up with their old friends and choice to stay with her band symbolized her no longer being a passive participant who begrudgingly joined band again and who begrudgingly was forced into playing the youth again. But she's now actively choosing to be there. And that is so far from her original plans. She went to Kitauji so that she could leave everyone behind, including the band and the Euphonium, abandon all of that baggage of the past. But in like a pleasant twist, returning to her roots at Kitauji has surprisingly given her the fresh start that she always wanted. Not the fresh start that she envisioned, but the best kind of fresh start, the kind where the beginnings of passion for music and her friends and arguably of life overall is starting to grow. The competition that Kitauji faces is daunting. You know, it comes in the form of Rikka and Rakushu, and they're so formidable that even a badass like Asuka gets a bit antsy at the thought of having to play sandwiched between the two of them. And the audience watching expects nothing from Kitauji. It's Rikka and then that other school and then it's Rakushu. Luckily, Kitauji has an ace up its sleeve in the form of I don't give a shit Reina, who does what could be seen as almost an act of kindness for her band, but that manifests in the most self-assured, haughty way possible, and that's the random trumpet run that she plays to shut everyone up and just snap them out of their self-doubts. The sorry not sorry hair flick and Asuka's like responding glasses touch, the one she does when she's up to something or she's very confident about something, were perfect, and I loved it. And we're reminded once again that though they may be or cause controversy, sometimes you need those kinds of stubborn, eccentric, sort of single-minded people to help push a band forward. The person for whom inspiring the band is actually their responsibility, of course, is Taki. And at first, he doesn't really seem to be up to the task. He arrives late, he's a bit all over the place, and doesn't at first really have anything of note to say to drum up their confidence. Also, what is up with the patches on the elbows of his jacket? I don't think they're there for style. And it feeds into my wild theory that the reason why he took up the job as Kitauji's band director is because he's gambled away all of his life savings and not only has no money to buy a new jacket, but is in serious debt to a local yakuza kingpin. But the yakuza kingpin turns out to be like a lover of band music, and so they agreed to a last-ditch bet that Taki made that if he can turn underdog Kitauji into national competition winners, he'll have his debts cleared. Taki is not completely useless though, because he does manage to encourage the kids with the line, music is not meant to be something you do to show off your abilities to your rivals, it's to show them what you're capable of. And I interpreted that to mean it's more important to show what you can do rather than show up others with this mindset of flaunting your superiority. And I mostly agree with that. At the end of the day, At the end of the day, like, what matters is not how you measure up against others, but showing that you've progressed personally, that you've worked hard and you have the receipts to show for it. On the other hand, if you've participated in any multi-school competition or performance, you can't deny that there is a small sliver of guilty satisfaction in flaunting your skills, especially when you are objectively better. The choices of song at SunFes were super interesting. I found the song Kitauji played to be more musically interesting than Rikka's. It was more angsty and had a much more interesting melodic shape and was not your traditional stodgier marching band piece with like the dun 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 bass line. It was in sum a great song choice to get people's attention and to really stand out against the other bands. And a nice piece of trivia from DX Rebel, which further explains why Kitauji's song was so different. So the song they played during SunFes is the band version of Riding from Yellow Magic Orchestra, a band light years ahead of its time, making what I call video game music before that was a thing. So there you go. They were playing video gaming music from the 70s. So you gotta appreciate Taki's eclectic selection of music there. We end episode 5 on Kumiko's sweat, the most beautifully animated drops of sweat, and a great shot that encapsulates the hard lesson the Kitauji kids are learning, which is that to get anywhere, they have to put in the blood, the sweat, and the tears. And they've successfully done that to a certain extent. However, we get to episode 6, where we see that being willing to put in those extra hours of practice was only the first test. The high of SunFes doesn't last that long because the next challenge is already coming around the river bend. And that's the one that poses the question, is the band willing to let go of past bad habits that contributed to them not progressing past the prefectural competitions? A huge one of which was clinging to the seniority system rather than giving people parts based on merit. And surprise, surprise, there is opposition to Taki's decision to go the meritocratic route. And even Midori has to audition, even though there's only one of her, because Taki could well choose a piece that doesn't require a double bass section. So we get to go from character to character and see where they're at both technically and emotionally when it comes to preparing for these auditions. The pieces Taki has chosen, and I think it's the free piece, the one that we actually hear a snippet of the Crescent Moon dance, it is noticeably more difficult than anything we've ever seen or heard the band play so far. It's definitely a piece that makes a statement that they're here to get to nationals. And when Asuka sight reads the youth part, the audition part, she gets it immediately. Kumiko is not so smooth, but you can hear that with just a bit more practice, she'll have it down. And we learn actually that this is Kumiko's 7th year of playing the youth, which is a decent number to have under your belt. It's certainly a number that is more, a lot more than Natsuki, who seems to be a bit down about like the gap between her and Kumiko. And now I'm even more curious to get to Natsuki's story, especially because she would have been part of the cohort of first years who rebelled against their lazier senpais. The other players that we get to compare were Reina and Kaori, and I love that just by listening to the quality of their renditions of the trumpet solo, you can tell that there is a major conflict that's about to take place, because Reina's version is technically better. Her intonation is slightly richer and her downward transitions are smoother. So by rights, unless Reina stuffs up on the day, like the solo part should go to her. But Kaori is a senior and also is much more popular in the band to boot. So like Kaori isn't bad. In fact, she's quite good for a high schooler, but she's not Reina level. And it's funny that I would say for a high schooler because it's essentially what Reina says out loud without realizing in front of Kumiko. She's good for a senpai. And she's embarrassed when Kumiko sort of makes a dig at her for saying that, but really Reina is not wrong. She's very cognizant of her own ability in comparison to others, even though she may not know how best to hold herself in front of her other band members so as not to cause offense. And I find it hilarious too that Reina is always out practicing in the open where everyone can hear her. It's kind of her thing, and I wonder if it is to rub it in everyone's faces that she doesn't care if they hear her, because she's confident enough in her skills to do that. And it's an admirable trait, but also, you know, certainly one I don't doubt will feed into the upcoming like Reina versus Kaori conflict, and not in a positive way for Reina. This last bit of discussion is about the base family, again, my faves. And I appreciate that despite the focus and the drama around reaching nationals, Hibike does make room for other equally important struggles going on, like the beginner's struggle of learning to love an instrument that you've just picked up. And the struggle is summed up by Hazuki, who says exasperatedly that she can't play like she wants to. When you first start out in anything, there is this yawning gap between what you want to do or imagine yourself doing and what you actually can do. For beginners, there's a critical inflection point where if you don't find a reason for persevering through all the technical drills and not immediately sounding great, it's really tempting to just drop it and move on to something else. Interestingly, for Hazuki, she'd already gone through that kind of beginner's pain with tennis, which is what led her to want to become good at tuba. Unfortunately, you know, switching fields just means you have to suffer through beginner's pain in another form. The other bass section members do their best to help Hazuki, but in ways that don't quite click at first. So Rikka and Goto try to explain why they love playing the tuba, and the things they end up saying, like, the tuba is pain, it's suffocating, people barely notice us, you know, it has nothing going for it. These are things that I feel experienced players would understand and see as things to be proud of. It's weird, like if you hone your skills at something for long enough, the pain almost becomes synonymous with pleasure. But for a beginner like Hazuki, it really doesn't do its job as a motivator. Asuka's approach is also well-meaning. Like she gives Hazuki a beginner's practice exercise to give her a taste of what it's like to be good at something. And Hazuki complains that it's too easy, which just sets Asuka off, and she ends up berating Hazuki for not having enough toned abs, implying, of course, that Asuka herself does. Even when, like, Kumiko goes all out as Tubikun and, like, discards her pride by taking inspiration from Goto with the fist of determination, all she ends up doing is making the wrong girl fall for her and end up on Asuka's public YouTube channel. A true moment of inspiration strikes when the base family gathers together and realizes that Hazuki has not once experienced the transcendent joy of playing as part of an ensemble, of creating magic through harmony. And a great comment from Renato Salzano, who references KyoAni. So as for Mio and KyoAni, bass instruments in general really show and you feel their importance for the overall band only when you play with others. They are the one linking rhythm and melody together, building the basement that the others shine on. So Hazuki really needed for a time to play with others and feel the importance of her contributions. Exactly. So like Goto said, the bass section often gets these long, repetitive notes that can only be truly appreciated as one part of a whole. And so we get possibly the sweetest, most wholesome scene of the show so far, Hazuki's first ensemble with her two best bandmates. The million-watt smile that she has on her face while they play, or after they play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and her excitement over finally getting a taste of what it's like to play real music, that put a smile on my face too. And what's even more, like, she goes on to inspire Kumiko to do the same, to keep working hard at her instrument. In a virtuous cycle that I really loved about this episode, we see Hazuki help her fellow bass section players just as much as they've helped her. And there's that awesome scene where Midori and Kumiko are teaching Hazuki how to maintain her instrument, and Hazuki gets so excited about their explanations of how the tuba works and how to clean it that it's just contagious. So for a more experienced player like Kumiko, genuine excitement over the instrument you spent so much of your life with wears off. Like, for her, it is literally the 7-year itch. Without these constant reminders of the wonder of even being able to play a musical instrument, sometimes you'll just stop short and be like, wait, why am I even doing this again? So to that important point of finding joy in music, whether you're a beginner or an intermediate player or a more experienced one, or like whether you're like Aoi, who looks like, you know, she's about to give it up because, you know, life happens, I want to finish with a comment from David Garcia. Regarding music in general, one can and should pick it up again when the opportunity arises. I took a long break from playing for career reasons. The time and energy needed for work didn't allow for much else. But recently, I find that I now have the time and resources to get back into it again. And interestingly, an old friend who is a fantastic drummer got in touch to suggest some playing again, which is great. So it is never too late to get back to playing an instrument if one has the inclination to do so. It makes me really happy knowing like that whenever people either discover for the first time or are rediscovering the long lost joy of music, like, or whatever it is that makes you happy, like, it doesn't have to be music. It's just awesome to know that people find joy in these types of things. So yeah, I wholeheartedly second like David Garcia's sentiment that it is never too late to pick up an instrument or a hobby. Like, if there's something that you've been sitting on doing for a while now, just go for it, because you know what, we're watching Hibike, and that's really one of the core messages of this show. All right, finally, episode 7 of Sound Euphonium. I've got my caffeine, yes, and I cannot wait to see where these auditions take us. So if you guys are ready, let's sync this in 3, 2, 1, play. There's massive drops of sweat. Oh, they're gonna be angry people. Oh, I like how it goes a da 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 da. So it actually steps up the minor scale before it goes into this main section, which is in major. Tibikun. Oh, Midori or Sapphire. I loved how she just totally ran over and tackled Kumiko or Tibikun. She's just so extra in everything that she does, Midori. So much angst in Hibike. I love when Taki like does his conducting wave. It's just that moment when the song goes into the chorus. It's great. I still don't remember what the hair bow girl, her name, I don't quite remember it. Always get chills at that spinning shot. Ooh, drills. There's always that one person who doesn't quite stop with everyone else. It's so accurate. Yeah, they weren't completely in tune, but they're quite good for a high school band. What all these like stares being traded across the room? There's lots of drama that's happening with the characters that we haven't even met. There she goes again. Everyone's got to be noticing. They're like, why is this girl even still in band? Crybaby sax. Oh, so this is an Aoi episode, maybe. From across. Oh, Taki, man, don't point that out. I don't know. Some things Taki does, it's like, why? Can't practice the solo parts. Yeah, you're not being a bully, are you? Hey, what is up? See ya, actually. You're just an afterthought. What's going on with Haruka? I like rain. Oh, Natsuki. She's finding her vibe too. Oh, yo, these two have a history. They're probably best buddies. Oh, okay. Maybe they're forever enemies. Something she'd say. Wow, this is... I mean, I guess it had to happen sooner or later. Always choice to leave. The most uninterested, like, arty. How did he know? Hmm. It's like collateral damage. She feels guilt. She's taken too much of responsibility onto herself for what happened. straight for full. It's quite sweet also that Kumiko really is rooting for Aoi. Oh. Oh no, Taki, don't say anything stupid to Aoi. Someone's sharp. That's like the saddest phrase I've ever heard played. Okay, I mean, that was reasonable. Oh, what's Asuka thinking? That's it. He did put it quite clearly for her, yeah. You can't be pulled in two different directions, or several. He probably has some personal words of encouragement. Oh, this is such a bad way to go though, like in front of everyone. Haruka's so upset too. Yeah, it's Haruka promising something she can't deliver. Yeah. Oh god, it is like guilt. Also, it was interesting throughout that part that it wasn't that should have cut her eyes out of this shot. Oh no, everyone's like falling apart. It's like domino effect. She's talking about Asuka. You give us treats. That's what I was thinking too. Oh no, now she feels bad for yelling at Kumiko. Are you a snake? Asuka, why are you talking like this? Just making it worse. But she chose it. Yeah. It was still her choice. Whoa. We'll talk more about this incredibly long scene, like starting with Aoi and then Haruka, and then now this confrontation between Haruka and Asuka. That was a great scene, but just done so well to just illustrate the cascade of emotions and with one thing leading to another. That was great. Just escalated so quickly. It's also very apt that it's raining outside. Love how she didn't even use her name. It's just like, hey, youth. You're my family, so you better step up. Keep my rep intact. It's kind of like not defined well enough. It's a bit messy. Eh? They're like muffling some sounds. Is it just Kumiko? Man, Kumiko's really been affected by Aoi leaving. Is she scared that'll be her? Hey, that's a great way of looking at it. Oh, these two. Ooh, more juice. True, it's always an element of subjectivity. Oh, so she's part of the lazy camp. Man, if you stand in the middle, you get run over from both sides. Asuka's like, screw them. I want to play my youth. That's why I find Asuka so interesting. She seems to be neutral, but I feel there's just a lot more going on underneath that flippant exterior. She's a slippery one, Cody. I do love how supportive she is. Oh, I love potatoes. Of course, she can eat as much as she wants and still remain so small. Whoa. Wait, who was that? Eh? I love these girls' friendship. Madonna. Cowdy's like, I don't need that pressure. I'm just me. Yeah, she wouldn't care enough to manage all of those conflicting personalities and emotions. Yeah, she stepped up. Fortissimo. Oh, Cowdy, saying all the right words. And true as well. Haruka was there. You're an Asuka fan. Polyship, I do not mind it. Oh, she's growing up so quick, our tuber baby. Just what an awesome person she is. Again. Yeah. Who cares what you think, Shuichi? Asuka's awesome. Is he even close to Asuka? Like, why does he even have an opinion like that? Come on, guys. It's not like she's this otherworldly, god-like figure that you can't actually just talk to her like a human. It was a quick recovery. Asuka. It's like she almost goes out of her way to show everyone that she's not president material, that the one they've got, Haruka, she's it. Despite what anyone thinks. That empty chair. You can. Oh, stop lying. She's, oh, I guess it, maybe it just makes her feel better. What does Haruka think? Haruka loves band. Oh no, please don't be a love triangle. She's gonna ask about Shuichi. Don't. No. No. I was like, okay, that moment when Shuichi steps onto the train and then he's like, he turns around and you can't see Kumiko, but you know that he's smiling at her. And then Hazuki kind of just watches with a wistful look on her face. I was like, no, they wouldn't do this. Like, they wouldn't just put a dude in there in between their friendship to create some sort of tension, because I mean, you can, but it's just so done. Ah, it's fine. I'm sure it won't be a huge part of. God, please don't make it a big plot point. Also, because just all throughout, up until this episode even, Kumiko has just shown sub-zero interest in Shuichi. Like, not even zero, sub-zero. Ugh. I really liked Shuichi, and I still like him. I just, apart from all that shit he was spewing about Asuka, I mean, he has a right to express what he thinks, but I'm just like, wait, when were you ever in the vicinity of Asuka's circle of friends that you could even have an opinion, you know? So I like him, but I just, I don't know, I'm feeling a bit edgy about where they're taking this whole Shuichi, Hazuki, Kumiko situation. All right, let's go to the next episode. Okay, guys, episode 8. It seems like the Haruka situation and her whole inferiority complex has sort of resolved itself somewhat. And you could say it's quick. You know, she took a day off and then had Kaori, her really good friend, come and speak some sense to her and make her see certain things. But I felt like the way that they handled the whole thing was just, it felt like it had a nice explosion at the start, and then it resolved itself in quite a satisfying way. So yeah, well done, KyoAni, and let's see what episode 8 has in store for us. And I'm already looking at the scene that we ended off on, and God help me. All right, let's do this in 3, 2, 1, play. She sounds mad. But why? Midori seems to know that this is going to be an explosive situation. She's like, why would you like Shuichi? Akata Matsuri. The whole music begins with love. Oh yeah, that's true. I just love the way that Midori talks about love and life. She's so much passion. She's always the one that's telling people to go for it, why not? Oh, it's sort of like Valentine's Day. Asuka and Haruka, my ship, my poly ship. Ooh, Natsuki, just keeping it so real. Oh. So there are like is a whole bunch of like sapphires getting ready to take over. And of course, Reina just casually listening in on a conversation that she doesn't care about. Just, I love all the different shots of the characters, even when there's just a conversation going on between one or two or three of the characters, you sort of get a view of maybe 5 or 6 of them, and then you see their reactions, and it just conveys so much more than what's actually in the dialogue. That is a real gift of KyoAni shows, I feel. Reina's little smile. I wonder if we'll get another one of those bright smiles, like, or if that was it too. Asuka, I cannot wait until we get the Asuka episode. Just see what's up with the girl. I think even her closest friends, Haruka and Kaori, probably aren't completely certain of what Asuka's thinking at any given point in time. Oh, I love those two. Gato and Rikka. Oh my god. What? Whoa, wait. Oh no. Oh god. Natsuki confirmed that Goto and Rikka are canon. Yay! She has many ships. Yes, she still retains that part of her, even though she's come a long way. Good job. Now she's thinking about who she could go with, and I don't even want to put my hopes up. She'd probably just tag along with Sapphire and her younger sister. Hey, not bad. But of course there's something wrong with it. Triumph. Oh god, she's got her musical hermeneutics down. Hey, that's so awesome. The thought of like the moon just going off into the stars. Why? What is it with Shuichi? Like, why did he have that look on his face when Asuka was... Oh, because he doesn't like Asuka. And because Asuka's talking to Kumiko. Ah... Come on, Shuichi. I like you, man. Don't ruin it. Oh no, you kind of suck, Shuichi. I'm sorry. Yeah, my thoughts exactly. Hey, look at her. She's trying so hard. Kumiko knows. Do we get a budget smile from Shuichi? Oh, here we go. She's gonna go with Shuichi. Well, she can't because of Hazuki. Do you know, it's so obvious how uninterested she is in him. It's like, huh? Why would I do that? It's so brilliant. Oh, relationship web. Man, yeah, it's just not worth it, the drama. High school, hey? What a pain. You know, Kumiko's just gonna stay home just to avoid all of this kerfuffle. Oh no. Please don't fight with Kumiko. Oh no, 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 no. Yeah? No! Oh, he's one of those. He's like reading every little thing into nothing. And then Hazuki's going to overhear all this. Oh! Step towards Reina. Nice! Nice, Reina. Yep. And Reina's just standing there, letting herself get held. Hey! Reina just rolling with the punches, clearly wants to go with Kumiko because someone who doesn't take shit like her would just say no if she didn't want to. Festival fever. Oh, they're all. My heart. Dead. The way he says stuff, that's just his tone and how he says it. Oh my gosh. I love that those two went together to the festival. They seem like they hate each other, but really they're probably just the best of mates. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's Mini Midori. Cute. That's an awesome post box. Oh. I hope Hazuki has a good time. Hey, that's like the romance, like mythology or something. Maybe this festival is based on that. Such a dress, like such a prep. What? What's she doing? Why she has her youth? Oh, did Reina? Reina told her to bring her youth. Wait, they're going mountain climbing in the middle of the night? What? Oh, come on. just kill me right now. Oh, I love how she crossed her legs. Entice people with your white dress. She's a spontaneous spirit. Yeah, you need to change it up a bit. It's a true like artist sort of spirit. I love how she addresses people, and Kumiko especially. It's just like, do this, do that. Why would I be like that? No. Oh, ponytail. She's a very specific way of doing things. God, she's gonna carry the youth for her. It's so wrong, but it's so right. Oh, what's gonna happen? Sorry. What's happening? Okay, just I can do this. Interesting attitude towards prayer. Oh my gosh, she's like, I'm so proud of my kid. Oh man. What? That didn't even make sense, Shuichi. She said going with a guy and then you're like, yeah, me too. Oh god. Oh, she's so brave. You gotta give her that. Just let her down easy. Oh, okay, the subtitle is kind of stuffed up there, but he said like, I'm sorry. Come in. Yeah. She knew. She'd been knew. No. Oh, I understand why she made that connection, but I kind of hate it because tubers are important too. I mean, Kumiko is where she should be with Reina. But it's attractive because she also has a terrible personality. She was just being honest. What? Someone please help me. I mean, I heard the word I, so that is definitely love. She likes how she's so distant. And I guess because she finds it relatable. There's the 2 stars in the sky. And there's like the 2 of them. Oh, look at, come on, man. Like, look at the lighting of that. Just the angle of her face. She's like, what? Who? And she smiled too. She was like, oh. Yeah. Just wanting to run your own race and be your own person. She gets to call her Reina. Wait, is this actually happening? Okay. Look, another smile. Oh, and both of their shoes just kicked off next to each other. Oh, that must hold some memories for them. They're gonna do a musical duet on the top of the mountain. Perfect harmony. These two. Kazuki is walking home alone. Oh, lovely. Oh. Their little sister. I love how they're looking at each other while they're playing. Oh god, you cannot get any more romantic than that. Like, honestly, a musical duet there, here. She looks even more determined than ever, probably because of that moment that she had with Reina. Oh my god, I can't. All right, stop. I gotta eat my words because I always do this to myself. Like in my recaps, I'll say something. I think I said like we have reached peak Kumiko and Reina, and that we're never gonna get any other moments. And then this episode happens. I will let my brain process because I don't think I could speak in coherent sentences right now. Where is this? I really don't want to put my hopes up, but I feel you can't ignore just how they went really deep that episode. You know, Reina was bearing her soul to Kumiko in terms of her ambitions for herself and how she doesn't really get close to anyone. And it's Kumiko who is the one that she's interested in. So Reina is probably still figuring herself out and stuff, but it's so clear, at least from Kumiko's side. You know, there are quite a few lines in there that, again, just you cannot ignore the romantic implications of Kumiko's feelings towards Reina. You know, this whole dream-like moment with Reina, the whole, like, the white dress bit and feeling like this must be what, you know, dying feels like, or something like that. I'll have to go back and look at the exact lines again. But it was, like the touch on the forehead and then the tracing down to her lips. I'm sorry, but if you do not see the deliberate setup in those kinds of interactions, then I cannot help you. This is just insane. Okay, we'll talk more, like, once I've collected myself. Okay, as always, some quick thoughts about these episodes, and then I'm gonna chuck the ball over to you guys. Especially for today, I feel like I need some outside perspective. I will rewatch the episodes, and as always, you know, new things will pop out to me, but Hibike is turning out to be a super interesting watch in terms of, well, in the sense that I'm thinking a lot more about writing choices and why they would choose to write certain scenes in the way that they did, like all the way down to why they wrote a certain singular line. And I'm loving it also because KyoAni is so good at portraying the full gamut of human emotion in quick succession. You know, case in point being the scene in episode 7 where Aoi finally makes her choice to quit the band in front of everyone. Poor girl. So, okay, let's talk about that episode first. So that I retain my sanity that I've managed to dredge up after that last episode. So for his part, I feel that the way Taki approached the situation was reasonable. Like, he didn't push too much. I don't think he expected Aoi to quit right then and there. Like, no one did. But he did lay out the possible paths forward, not just for Aoi, but for everyone who is in the same situation as her. That given they're really going for nationals, like, you need to take a look at your schedule, set some goals for yourself, and then put in the required amount of time and effort. Otherwise, as part of a 60 plus member band, even just one person who's not putting in that time will drag the whole team down. And, you know, again, just doing what he does best and leaving it up to the individual student to make their choice. And Aoi, who already knows that her number one priority is getting into her college of choice, cuts the band. You know, since SunFes, she's known that she can no longer coast along because everyone else around her has stepped up their game and she can't keep it up. Which leads to Haruka, who, to her credit, cares so much for Aoi and knows that the decision she made wouldn't have been an easy one for her because they've been through the ringer together. You know, as fellow third years or, you know, second years who were sandwiched in between the huge conflict of last year, you know, they both share that guilt of being unable to prevent the first years from throwing down and just leaving. I have to say, the way Aoi leaving the band led to Haruka's own personal breakdown was handled so smoothly. It was like we transitioned effortlessly from one girl's personal difficult circumstances to her friends. Like, her friends shared guilt, but also Haruka's own internal struggles with her inferiority complex, of being in her mind, and probably some of the other band members' minds too, if we're being honest, being second choice as president because Asuka chose not to do it. Kumiko only being able to say that Haruka is nice and treats her kohais well, unfortunately did come off as being something you say when you just can't think of any other positive points, which wasn't true, as Kaori later shows by spitting facts and saying that the reason there is even a band is because Haruka took up the presidency when she did. But in that moment, you know, Haruka can't see that. Now, she can't see that in the context of the conflict. What mattered is that she stepped up to the plate, that the split was a calamity that could have broken up the band forever, but because she was there, it survived. Sure, like, it's not in the best of states, but it does exist. And so that episode proved that Haruka is a certified badass. I also love that Haruka let her guard down enough to yell at Asuka for forcing her to become president because she said no. Like, clearly Haruka has been keeping a very tight lid on her emotions this whole time, and Aoi leaving just reopened that wound again. And to see Asuka get a bit taken aback by Haruka's outburst was fantastic because she is always so unflappable. And even when she was comforting Haruka, she was doing it in that teasing, indirect manner. Like, in that emotionally very fragile moment, she was like, come on, Haruka, stop restricting your kohai like a snake and get back to your post. So for once, it was nice to see Asuka get, you know, hit by something someone else said to her. But it really doesn't last that long because Asuka immediately recovers and makes the point to Haruka that, well, she too had the option of refusing to be president, but she didn't. So on the one hand, Haruka is wrong to believe it was Asuka's choice that forced her into the position, because it was, at the end of the day, Haruka's own choice. But also, on the other hand, because it was Haruka's own choice, that makes her the most suitable person to be president because she chose it. It was so tight the way that whole scene was written. And I was just in awe of how well they set everything up and how you could really feel the emotional connections between the three of the third year girls. So like Aoi, Haruka, and Asuka. It was interesting getting everyone else's read on Asuka and what her deal is. I mean, she is the real mystery girl, not Reina. the people who know her best would be Haruka and Kaori, but it seems like even they sometimes aren't quite 100% sure of what Asuka really feels. And Shuichi, some of the things that Shuichi said in these 2 episodes, man, just made me question a little, not a lot, like my really liking him as a character. I did not feel his whole, oh, she's too perfect. I can't tell how much of it is real and how much of it is an act. First of all, no one asked you, Shuichi. And second of all, like, I understand the idea of Asuka coming off as perfect because she's a bit like unapproachable due to her off-kilterness and her oddities. But at no point did I get the impression that she was putting on a superficial show for people. Like, her eccentricity is just part of who she is. And so what if she has this external face that she presents to people who aren't all that close to her? Like, just because she doesn't show all of her other aspects of her character to you, Shuichi, doesn't mean that she's putting on a face. It was bizarre, that line of his. It just felt like it came out of nowhere and from a place of real ignorance. And I'm not even sure if it was just like a funny choice in writing or if they're really trying to portray Shuichi as this clueless boy who's musing about other people that is really none of his business. I'm not sure. Like, maybe on rewatch he won't come off as weird. But yeah, that was just my first impression. The funny moment in that conversation was when Shuichi wonders if Asuka will become the next president if Haruka quits. And the look on Kumiko's face in that moment was priceless. She's probably imagining the fresh hell that band practice would turn into if Asuka ever got her hands on the presidency. Not that she would ever want to. And so Kumiko like refuses to believe that Haruka will quit, and she's right. Kumiko's take on Asuka is a bit more real. Like, she says it's like Asuka has her eyes set elsewhere. And the short shot that we get of Asuka as she's saying that shows her like concentrating on her music by herself in her room. So I think maybe for Asuka, being able to just play her music and her instrument and then to not have to care about all the human crap and politics around it is really what she wants, and which is totally reasonable in my view. Also, Reina just sitting next to them listening. I actually didn't realize that she was there until they reacted to her. So yeah, Reina just being her usual creepy self. Okay, episode 8. I love that we get the insights we do into both Kumiko and Reina's characters while they're on their festival date. Like, that they share a common understanding that they are different from most people. Sure, Kumiko's difference stems from her distance and her not caring for things as much as other people do, and Reina is like the complete opposite. So she cares so much for the thing that she has her eye on to achieve, but nonetheless they're able to connect on the level of being set apart from the mainstream, if you will. And I'll like put aside all the drama for next time, like everything that happens between Shuichi and Hazuki and Kumiko for now, because I guess it worked out how it should in the end. And I'm glad to see, it seems, that Hazuki's crush on Shuichi won't be a lingering thorn in the side of Kumiko and Hazuki's relationship, because I really love those 2 girls together. But the big thing that came out of episode 8, oh man, I don't even know if I could talk about this properly without having some distance to it and thinking about it a bit more. Like, here's what I'll say. I could understand if someone watched Hibike up until season 1, episode 7 and was like, oh, I'm really not seeing the romantic attraction between Reina and Kumiko. Or at the very least, from Kumiko towards Reina. All I see are like 2 girls who are friends who are getting to know each other better. I could buy the somewhat validity of that reading, but after episode 8, like, the objective reasonableness of that reading has become microscopic, like almost negligible. And anyone who still holds to that view after this episode, I mean, it really shows their inexperience with real life actual girls with like complex sexualities. Because you don't hike up mountains with your platonic friend and like Kumiko think about how, you know, this is what to lose your life must feel like being drawn to a situation or a person who's so beautiful despite you being a bit fearful of what's coming next. You know, platonic friends just don't talk the way that Kumiko and Reina do to each other in that specific setting. They don't do the finger to the forehead, tracing down to the lips, and they don't get nervous around each other like that. They don't see the other person encased in a soft light and speak of confessions of love, and they don't say, oh my god, it's so hot how pain doesn't bother you. Why am I hammering home this point so much that Kumiko and Reina were clearly written with romantic overtones? I mean, I should engage in a bit of self-analysis right now because I want to remain as objective as I possibly can. Obviously, that's not entirely possible because everyone brings their own set of biases and personal experiences to any piece of media, and acknowledging that is important. And I mean, I think you guys who watch this channel are fairly on the same page with these things as me, as far as I know. But in other fandoms, I've encountered the same thing over and over, where even now, where the default for queer rep is one, it forever remains in subtext. And as I said before, that means forever being able to have plausible deniability, that it's even there. And or two, it has to jump over these relatively high conceptual or mental hurdles compared to straight ships to be even considered as falling within the realm of possibility. And that's not even getting to the surprising paucity of complex, well-written, whole finished arc storylines that also happen to have complex, well-developed main character queer canon couples. Novels and podcasts are much better at this than large-scale company or corporate produced shows for whatever reason. You know, we can get into that in a whole other podcast episode. So when I watch an episode like episode 8 with its deliberate choices in writing and direction and lighting and everything else, I will read it like a reasonable person would and take Kumiko and Reina as being explicitly romantic. No matter how it ends with these two characters, enough has happened that it's clear they have feelings or stirrings of feelings for each other. So yeah, that was episode 8. Such a boring episode, nothing happened, and I absolutely felt nothing for it, clearly. Overall, Hibike, still an awesome show. There's a lot of things that I couldn't cover in this just quick summary section, things about, Reina's and Kumiko's relationship with music and just the duet that they did, and also, next reactions pre-episode discussion is going to be super long, I already can tell. And I would love to read and hear what you guys thought of these episodes. I have a feeling that these are sort of pinnacle episodes. I said that last time, but I don't know. I feel like these two episodes in particular would have sparked a lot of discussion. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys thought. And I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of the day wherever you are. And I will see you next time.